we're going to get started. Thank you everybody for joining us today. This is Being Well Class 3. We're at the Northwestern Medicine Living Well Cancer Resources, our beautiful kitchen here, and we welcome the people from home too for joining us. Tonight's topic is gut health and the microbiome. So we have one more class to go. I'm Nancy Zawicki. I'm a registered dietitian with Northwestern Medicine. I work at the Delmar Cancer Center.
And I work with Nancy there. My name's Mary Zupke. I'm also a registered dietitian working at the Delmar Cancer Center. Yeah. So Being Well is the series about nutrition during survivorship. This is our third week. We're excited about gut health and the microbiome. It's such a great topic. And next week is cooking for 1 or 2, which is a great class for some quick tips. If you're not the one that's usually cooking, or even if you are, there's some good tips in there too. So we're excited to have you guys here.
It'll be quick and simple meals, so anybody can benefit from that.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. What is the gut microbiome? The gut microbiome plays a role, we know now, in overall health and many parts of our health. It's a community of microorganisms and their genes in a living environment. So a lot of people don't realize that it's kind of a living, breathing microorganism. And it's in plants, animals, soil, oceans. They all have their own microbiomes. And the largest microbial population in the human body is located in our gut or in our colon. The majority of these microbes live in the human body, but now we know they help maintain our physical health as well as our mental health. And so we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit deeper.
Yeah, you're going to hear more and more about it on the news. You know, you hear it more so now than a few years ago, how important it is. But there is growing evidence that gut microbiota and health are very important. So the microbiota is a community of normal bacteria found in the human body, 10 trillion to 100 trillion bacteria living in our gut, and greater than 160 different species. Growing evidence that different microbiota species work together to benefit our health, possible prevention of diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and cancer, and possibly a role in depression as well, constipation, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, skin conditions, weight management, and possibly our cognition. And some research is showing a decrease in colon cancer risk and Crohn's by having a healthy gut. And a healthy gut will have better nutritional status, fewer comorbidities, and a greater overall health. So we're going to tell you today about how to improve your gut health. So what to eat? So good versus bad bacteria. So there's a thing called prebiotics, and that's from food. They act as fertilizers for good bacteria to flourish within the gut. And you can see in this little diagram what those foods are, like onions, soybean, asparagus, bananas, and you're going to team that up with a probiotic food. Prebiotics are complex carbohydrates in the form of indigestible plant fiber, and this dietary fiber can only be broken down and fermented by the good bacteria in your colon. Prebiotics are found in foods shown as wheat, honey, barley, tomato, rye, peas, beans, bananas, and the list goes on.
So, not to get too sciencey, but we do want to kind of know what happens. And in the fermentation process in our gut, the short-chain fatty acids lower the pH and decrease the bad bacteria in the gut. So if we have that fermentation process where the probiotics are eating the prebiotics, then that's when we see that decreased pH and where the good bacteria is flourishing. So that's an important part of the colon, and that helps support a healthy immune system and helps stabilize the blood glucose and cholesterol levels. You can see prebiotics listed sometimes on the label as inulin or fructooligosaccharides or galactooligosaccharides, cellulose, or fructans. I'm seeing a lot more labels that have fructans on there now, especially like in health food stores. And then the prebiotics, as Nancy mentioned, those are natural foods that stimulate the growth of this gut bacteria that's beneficial. So they feed the good bacteria, they prevent the growth of the bad bacteria, they improve immune function, and they make enzymes to help digest food. And then they also help fix the gut microbiome after antibiotic therapy. So I just have a note here that says there's a new prebiotic drink called Olipop. Maybe you've seen it. Some people are shaking their heads, yes. So, and I know they worked through some chemical formulations to make sure you were getting the prebiotics. So lots of different ways, and we're going to give you some more ideas too.
So the food sources of prebiotics, when you think about the Mediterranean way of eating, a lot of these foods are on the Mediterranean diet. So you could just naturally be eating these and getting your prebiotics, but it's bananas, onions of all different varieties, like leeks, chives, red onion, yellow onion, any of those work. Garlic, asparagus, artichokes, soybeans, whole wheat foods, but there's even more. So prebiotics feed the gut. So that's the important thing. You need to have those foods to team up with a probiotic food like a yogurt. So there's many fruits and vegetables and whole grains that contain prebiotics, even apples, as we mentioned, asparagus, bananas, barley, beans, garlic, onion, and wheat bran. And you can also get prebiotics through supplements, but we feel like it's such widely available in our food supply, and these are pretty common foods. Try to go the food route. And although there's no recommendation for prebiotics, incorporating adequate amounts of fruit, vegetables, and whole grains into your daily meal plan will ensure that you're getting enough of them. So just keep, and we promote the onions and garlic anyhow, because we don't use salt a lot. So we like to use those for the flavor. So I already do it.
So what are probiotics? So probiotics are the bacteria that occur in foods after they've undergone this fermentation to get those short chain fatty acids in the gut. The good bacteria, they're similar to bacteria that are found in the body naturally. Live bacteria or yeast are good for your health and especially in your digestive system. So some examples would be pickles that haven't been canned, because those, like if you have refrigerator pickles, those haven't been
treated with
processed.
Yeah.
And so those would still have that fermentation quality. Probiotics are dependent on the prebiotics, as we mentioned, because that's their main food source. The probiotics in foods naturally contain that bacteria. They're also found in supplements, and we're going to talk a little more about that in a minute, that contain live active bacteria. Lactobacillus and bifidobacterium are the most well-known types of probiotics.
So then what are the probiotic food sources? So, some people can take a pill in the form of a probiotic, but you can also just try, like yogurt is probably your best bet for a probiotic that's commonly used in our food supply. The recipe we're doing tonight, we made a yogurt dressing. So even something simple like that. So it doesn't have to just be a container of yogurt for breakfast. You can make dressings out of it or use it in your recipes. But other fermented probiotic containing foods are aged cheeses, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, pickled vegetables, and tempeh. But if you're looking for something to keep in your refrigerator, yogurt would be a good thing to always have handy. And then food sources of probiotics, again, would be yogurts, lactobacillus, milk, and cheeses, the kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh, kombucha, pickles.
Any of pickles really, as long as they haven't been canned. So once you heat treat them, then that destroys the bacteria. So I'm about to make refrigerator pickles because we love those at our house. And you're using that vinegar and then you've got that fermentation. So
yeah, sometimes people pickle red onion or beets, pickled beets. So you can just do that right in your kitchen.
Peppers, yeah.
Yeah, asparagus. You see that, I don't want to say in the liquor aisle, but they have a lot of those jarred products because people might make Bloody Marys and add all these extra ingredients, but you'll find them in the grocery store too, very easily. Yeah.
So what about supplements, harmful or helpful? We always suggest getting your nutrition from food first because there are all these little micronutrients in there that are going to help us. And you're getting a lot of nutrition from food anyway. But if you can't, or you need a big amount at a certain amount of time, you can try Aligned is one that's recommended, or Culturelle. So those are a couple that are possibly recommended. Many probiotic supplements contain a combination of different strains, including the bifidobacterium, the lactobacillus, or the Saccharomyces. So if you're looking at a different brand, you can look for those particular ones because those are very effective. We do always recommend to talk with your physician or your dietitian just to see if it's appropriate at the cancer center during treatment. We look at it on a case-by-case basis, but we wouldn't suggest if you're starting treatment to start a probiotic and change up the apple cart.
I just want to mention one thing too, is if you end up going on a antibiotic, like a broad spectrum or something that has adverse side effects, you could talk to your pharmacist, like wherever you get your medications and all, and ask them what type of probiotic would be helpful. Because there's certain ones that help with that antibiotic, and they're a great resource to do that. But again, if you are going through cancer treatment and you have something more like a colon or rectal cancer, we do want the oncologist, okay to use it.
So if you are choosing a supplement, a couple other tips would be to make sure they've been tested or patented for humans, that they have the live active cultures. You want them to have at least 1 billion of colony forming units, which is CFUs. And you make sure it's a time released or a coated capsule. So when it goes in the stomach, the acid doesn't open it up too soon to get to your gut. You want to look at the instructions, because many of them, because they are have the bacteria, they would need to be refrigerated. And then consider choosing a product that might have one of these certified seals. Really, it's not going to be, there's no recommendation that it's best for everyone. This is just another way of looking at them, but we still recommend that you talk with your healthcare provider before you jump into one of these supplements. And none of these really guarantee safety or effectiveness. They're just other ways of looking at it. So maybe as we get more into the microbiome research, we'll have more information about that. But it's such a burgeoning field, it's changing all the time.
Yeah, I remember several years ago, it was before COVID, I was doing a class here and the topic was, the gut microbiome. And I remember the head person was like, what is that? And just think of all these years later, it's, a lot of people know about it. It was just like charcuterie. What was that? And then, now everyone knows. So anyhow, how can we protect our gut microbiome? So based on like a Mediterranean diet and lifestyle. So just keep in mind what the prebiotic foods are, and just think of ways that you can team it up with a probiotic to make it like the dual purpose. So artichokes, bananas, asparagus, oats, apples. So some people make like overnight oats and put yogurt in there, and then maybe put some chopped up apple or banana, like you're getting both in there that way. Eat whole grains, and the whole grains contain fiber and beneficial carbohydrates, which are digested by gut bacteria to benefit weight control, cancer risk, diabetes, and other chronic disease. Attempt a plant-based diet where you have some meals that are meatless, but that also will help reduce levels of disease-causing bacteria such as E. coli, reduce inflammation and cholesterol. And then eat foods rich in polyphenols. So those would be more like the red plant-based compounds found in red wine, green tea, dark chocolate, olive oil, whole grains. They're broken down by the microbiome to stimulate healthy bacterial growth. Red wine, that's also, if you're going through treatment, that's a question you ask your oncologist, if or how much, and so we're not making a recommendation there. But how can we protect our gut microbiome? It's really just eating a wide range of whole foods, and whole foods would be the whole vegetable or fruit. Start that way and then cut it up and do your thing. And that helps lead to a diverse microbiome. Try adding legumes and fruits, which do contain a lot of fiber. Eat fermented foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, kefir. Limit your intake of artificial sweeteners, because there is some evidence that artificial sweeteners could stimulate the growth of unhealthy bacteria in the gut. and it may make it difficult for healthy bacteria to grow. A lot of people are sensitive to artificial sweeteners. So if you're experiencing GI discomfort, you kind of have to be your own detective to think, wait, what did I have today? And it can sometimes be dairy products or even artificial sweeteners. I myself avoid them because I just don't want that kind of thing in my diet. And then sugars promote the growth of bad bacteria in the gut. And this can lead to irritation to the gut, which could manifest itself as autoimmune response. And then depression is also thought to actually be your body's response to swelling in the gut. So there's a lot more research now on our brain and depression and how it affects, the whole process.
So how can we include both in the diet, the prebiotics and the probiotics? And Nancy had a good suggestion about the yogurt and the bananas. Stir fry asparagus with onion, garlic, and tempeh. So that would be great. Add kimchi or sauerkraut to salads with artichokes. I noticed at our farmer's market that there was a sauerkraut purveyor. And they had like 8 or 9 different kinds of sauerkraut that they were selling. And my husband bought one, and it was kind of just kind of like a green one. So I think it had some cucumber in it, but it was pretty good. And we've been kind of putting it on sandwiches and things like that. But I have a feeling it's because of this microbiome research that there's a lot of interest in sauerkraut. I love having artichokes in my pantry. If I'm looking at a kind of a boring salad, chop them up, throw them in my salad or even on the sandwich. I like to chop them up kind of small because part of it, where the heart is, it can be a little fibrous. Add barley to soups. Add onions, garlic to egg, soups, pasta. You see us often using onion and garlic, and we have onion today.
Yeah, I also like when you take asparagus, cut it up into small little 1/2-inch pieces. It just, you'll get more of a blend of whatever else you're cooking. So it's not just these big long spears. It's kind of fun to do it that way.
I like it too when you could do that with its raw artichokes. I mean asparagus, and just chop them up and throw them in your salad, and it's really
Or
tasty.
saute it. Yeah.
Yeah. So putting it all together, how do you take care of the gut? The microbiome can be significantly altered by diet, and your gut microbiome plays an important role in health by helping control digestion and benefiting your immune system. There's a healthy balance of microbes and good bacteria in the intestines that could offer a variety of benefits. So to help the growth of that healthy microbe, you want to eat a variety of foods, whole grains, and fermented foods. At our recent national meeting, they were talking about a lot of the research, and they're trying to decide what to do next because they know so little about what's going on in the gut bacteria. So they're trying to figure that out. But what they have come up with is that they know that a variety of bacteria in the gut is good. And so their suggestion was, and not to be overwhelming, but to have 30 different plants per week. And a lot of people are like, what? I have to have 30 vegetables? But that can include the barley, the grains, the beans, the nuts, fruits and vegetables, all of those. But having a variety, and kind of we're back to talking about the rainbow.
Yeah, and I don't know, 30 to me would be hard in my head to add up on a weekly basis. So I like to break it down to 5 to 7 servings a day. So when you think of having a salad and all the different things you can add to it, start with your breakfast, add some fruit, things like that. It kind of breaks it down more. But I also want to mention too, like, I feel like the ultra processed foods would also be a place to look at and really try to decrease those in your diet, because I don't think they're doing your gut a whole lot of good. Try to focus more on shopping the outer perimeter of the store, your fresh produce, your fresh meats, your whole grains, your low-fat dairy. Try to plan your meals around that, and that's up and down the aisles is where you see all that ultra processed stuff, and really try to break some habits, or make it where it's just a treat that you have it maybe one food a day if you're trying to wean yourself from all those, because we're human and sometimes our brain tells you one thing and we had something today where those little pretzels, and we're like, I said, with willpower, yeah, okay, I'll have one, it's this little thing, but
trying to get energy later in the day. Right?
Yeah.
There is some research that shows that probiotics can improve overall symptoms related to COVID-19 and diarrhea, which is interesting. That was a recent 2023 study from NIH. So we know that there's more research coming from that's out there, and we are monitoring it so we can bring it to you. But I do like what Nancy said about the ultra processed foods, because a lot of those are heat treated. So that means that they're breaking down the fiber again, like we talked about, and that's going to be give you less of the prebiotics. And that's why a lot of times we'll say whole foods as opposed to processed or even canned. You know, canned is processed. You're going to have some fiber in there, but you're going to have less.
But I don't think that many ultra processed foods are high in fiber, you know, when you think of it. But, you know, just simplifying. Try different recipe books. Like, I love recipe books. I like Skinny Taste, Oh She Glows, the first book. But there's so many good ones out there. Like, if you go to Barnes and Noble and just sit down and like, you want to find at least 5 good recipes in there to make it something worthwhile. There's some out there and you're like, wait, what is that? Like, some just aren't going to suit your needs. But so sit down with it and look it through and see what is appealing. And I love cookbooks with pictures, because that's very inviting and you can visualize what it's going to look like. And it kind of whets the appetite, like, oh yeah, I'd love to try this. But yeah, we try and keep our meals pretty simple, like especially what we're doing tonight. It's simple ingredients. And then when you put it together with the different herbs and spices and all that, it should be pretty good.
Well, we're ready to show you the recipe. So we're making salmon cakes today. Into a lettuce wrap, and then we're going to have a yogurt dressing. Thank you. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
I probably need one more pair, but okay, thank you. Which is really simple. I mean, you can purchase them, but you might get some added ingredients. And so we thought, well, we'll just show you quickly. The recipe calls for canned salmon, but they purchased fresh for us today, which is even better. So I sauteed the salmon earlier so that we could be ready for everybody after class. But I wanted to show you kind of how we made the salmon cakes. So this is a little piece of salmon that we're going to add in. And you can kind of break it up a little bit if you want before you put other things in. I kind of used small pieces and then I was able to break it up. And salmon's got all those yummy omega-3s too, which is really helpful. And then we just used a plain kind of panko breadcrumb. This one really doesn't have anything extra in it, so that's kind of nice too. And then we just added, I'm basing this on how big the salmon is. And then all this recipe has, it's really simple, is salmon, the egg, the panko breadcrumbs. And then I'm just doing a fork to kind of put it all together. If it's, you know, depending on how much salmon you have, and if you don't have the exact amount, you can always add a little bit more breadcrumbs just to make sure that you can form it. So this wasn't quite enough salmon to kind of stick it all together. So I'm just going to add a little bit more breadcrumbs.
Yeah, and the American Heart Association recommends 2 servings of fish a day to help meet your fish oil recommendation. So like a 3.5 ounce serving, and that per week. What did I say?
2 per day.
Oh, I didn't mean 2 per day, per week. 2 servings per week.
Per day is okay too, though.
But it helps reduce the risk of heart disease and stroke. So it's healthy, it's low calorie, high in protein, and has a healthy fat.
So then we were able to pick some fresh parsley today. So
from our garden,
which is so yummy. And so I just added that in. And this is still, you want it to be so you can form it. So I'm just going to add a little bit more panko there so we can make it into a cake. And then while I'm heating up the skillet, Nancy's going to explain our sauce.
So we have a yogurt sauce. We're using plain yogurt, and we try in this batch that's already ready to go. Instead of mayonnaise, we chose to put some cottage cheese in there just for fun. So if you notice a little texture-y, I didn't want to blenderize it. I like to see what's in my ingredients. We had some leftover red onions, so we threw that in there. We had chives from our garden. We did that. Black pepper, garlic powder, and I added some herb de Provence. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of cayenne, not much, but just enough to give a little something. And then the yogurt. So that's your probiotic is the yogurt. But it's really refreshing, and you can use this as a salad dressing, or what we're going to do is use as a topping for our nice little dish. So we washed up some lettuce. We have these artesian lettuce. It's from Aldi's. So we just broke that down, washed it, and we're just going to layer it on here. So this recipe is going to have a little salmon cake, the drizzle of yogurt dressing, a lemon slice, and then we had some extra eggs, so we just thought we'll boil them up so you get a little piece of egg in here. Yeah, so I could just show you real quick. This is just yogurt, and well, really, it's just a little dash of garlic powder, black pepper, and then you can do what you want with it. Like, we love to use herb de Provence here, and then a little lemon juice too. So it's very, very basic.
So then I
made,
I formed the salmon into little cakes, and we did small ones today, but you could do like a larger one if you were making them for dinner.
like a crab cake size.
Yeah, like crab cake size. And then I added a little olive oil to the pan, and then you cook them for about 5 minutes on one side and 4 minutes on the other side, just like the recipe says. And really, that's it. It's super easy. So I added a little bit of dried dill because that was what we had today, and a little pepper. We don't usually use salt. You could add herb de Provence in here too, but I love the fresh parsley in here. It's going to be so tasty. And then that's it. So I'm going to let those cook. And then we made some ahead so that they're ready to go. And we used our yummy parsley from the garden garnish.
And when you think of it, you're getting a bunch of different protein sources, the yogurt, the egg, the salmon. So, you know, it could make a nice little lunch, having a little low calorie salmon with all this, and it should have staying power because of the extra protein in it. So.
And with the lettuce, that's your prebiotic, and then you're getting your probiotic from the yogurt, and then.
And also there's red onion and chives in there, so that's prebiotic too.
Perfect, yeah, and those chives are fresh from the garden too.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll serve one up, and then we'll say goodbye to our friends at home. And so this is how we would do it. We would just put it on one of the lettuce leaves with an egg half, and then we've got our lemon
dressing. Giving extra dressing because of the probiotic effect. So.
And there you have it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.